Here's the uncomfortable truth, which is that winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners, and you never receive hate from above, always below, because winners have their eyes on the goal, not on other people. And so you have to decide whether you want to be a loser or a winner. And I'm just being real with you. What this looks like in reality, and maybe for you in 2025, will be like this. First, you look like an idiot to everyone else while you try to figure it out. Then, everyone else looks like an idiot for ever doubting you. Seasons. And so everyone takes a different amount of years to stop giving a fuck about what everyone else thinks. And if you're going to get there eventually, you might as well start today and enjoy the benefits longer. So if I'm 85 years old, I think about what that man cares about. And that man cares about very, very little. All you have to do is talk to an elderly person or a grandparent and be like, what do you think about this? A lot of people are like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Life is literally too short. They literally don't have time for it. And so I think to myself, if that's the ultimate version of me, if I'm going to get there eventually, and that's what the wisest people think after having the most life experience, then why would I not try to cheat code that into today and then not have to go looking back from 85 and think, man, I wish I knew then what I know now. Look forward to 85-year-old self and say, I am going to choose to learn the lesson I know I'm going to learn and act as if I knew it today. Because the difference between them and you is that what they consider work, you consider life. And so you have to accept that you have a fundamental different understanding of how life works. And I believe that is a more accurate view of reality. The reason that the rich can get richer is because they see the world differently than the poor. And so it makes sense that if your poor friends don't see what you see, that they see through the lens of poverty. And all my goal in life is to be able to see reality more accurately. And so in the beginning, you have to develop this armor, this thick skin around people saying those little snide comments of like, you work too hard, you're too obsessed, you have a toxic work capacity, and why are you working weekends? Why are you working late nights? You're not, like, this is not worth it. They're not paying you enough for the work that you do. All of these different things, because eventually that armor on the outside actually just becomes one with you and you don't even hear it anymore. Because I can promise you that those people who were in my life decades ago, they're just not even, I don't hear those claims anymore for two reasons. One, because my reality changed so drastically that they couldn't say anything. And secondarily, they're just not in my world anymore. I was only able to get here because what they deemed acceptable, I deemed intolerable. How far you go in life, I truly believe this, is based and predicated only on one thing, which is your actual standard. And so I believe that the person who runs any company or runs any division should be the person who has the highest standards. And if there's ever a day that someone has a higher standard for acquisition.com than me, they should run this instead of me, because they would be the one who's best serving the company. And so the person who should have the highest standard for you is you. And so it makes sense that they have a lower bar, but why would I listen to their bar on my life? I think that that standard is the one thing that rich kids get from rich parents more than anything else. Is because they have an expectation of life. They don't accept opportunities that are below that standard. And so they actually get their huge leg up on the pick, on the vehicles that they choose to pursue. And so one of the tougher parts, if you're not from an area where people make a lot of money, or not from, you don't know anybody who's a super successful entrepreneur, is that you basically have to borrow someone else's measuring stick. And you have to say, is this the standard that Elon would pursue? Is this the standard Bezos would pursue? Is this the standard Jobs would pursue? And if it isn't, then why are you doing it? If you want to be like them, then act like them. If you want to be like your friends, then you can act like your friends, but don't be surprised that you have what they have or lack what they lack. If we're thinking about elimination, we're eliminating bad friends and tangentially their opinions about you that are affecting your behavior. So the next thing are what things are playing interference on your time and your attention. All right. So I would say opinions of other people are affecting your behavior and your decisions. I think that your environment affects your efficiency of behavior. So think about how much more you get per hour of output. If you can't sit still, ignore notifications, and focus on one task for 8 hours straight, never expect to build anything great. And as uncomfortable as that is, it's also the truth. Like I don't know a single incredibly successful entrepreneur that can't sit down and have hyper-focused periods of time, sometimes weekends, weeks at a time where they don't talk to anyone and they just hammer away. And it's whether they're coding for software or they're making some insane marketing campaign and all the email follow-ups and all the text follow-ups and the affiliate promotions and incentives, or someone who's creating a product that they're designing and they're in the shop and they keep tweaking at it, or there's somebody who's hyper-scaling a company and saying, I'm going to sit in 20 interviews a day for 7 days straight so I can hire 20 people this week because I need to get going, right? Like if you can't sit still and ignore notifications and focus for a day, nothing great will get accomplished, because it's not about what you want, it's about what's required. And whether that's your best or not is irrelevant. It's just there's a price tag and you gotta be willing to pay for it, or you don't get the thing. And a lot of times it's not what you want. And I spend a lot of time trying to dispel the concept of like follow your passion, because I think it leads more people astray than it helps. Because it's very easy for someone who's successful, who's already delegated tons of things, to only then focus on their area of genius and then say, here for my seat, do what I do. But there's a very big difference between doing what someone does and doing what they did to get there. And I think this is what's lost in a lot of the content that I see in the entrepreneurial space. And to be clear, whenever I'm trying to get to the next level, I often have to take on things that I don't know how to do. And I have to learn how to do them, which means I have to suck for a period of time. And sucking sucks. But the thing is you have to be able to embrace that period of time and say, like, this is the cost of greatness. And so I'll give you something very tactical. So I have timers in a lot of my offices, and my team has adopted this too, which is I like to time block, which is essentially saying, how long do I think this is going to take? And you can do this on a week scale, you can do it on a daily level, it depends on the level of project you're tackling. But for me, even on the most micro level, I say, okay, how long should this take? I'll then crank this thing, boop, I think this should take 20 minutes, and then I hit start, and I let the timer go. And if for whatever reason something distracts me, I pause it so that I know that I didn't actually work that period of time. And so what happens is it will give you a very real look at how long you're actually working versus how long you think you're working, and you tell other people working, and you Instagram how long you're working. And as I've become more efficient at work, meaning my output per unit of time has gone up, I've realized that there's just been a significant decrease in the distractions that I allow to interrupt me. Again, if you want to stay focused, staying focused is not like zeroing in and saying, I'm going to do it just like I'm going to just zoom in on this thing. It's more that focus occurs when you remove everything else. What's left is focus. And so Jerry Seinfeld has this famous process that he talks about with writing. And I think writers are also wonderful people for talking to for deep work, because it's the nature of the work they do. One of the things that he did, and he has done for years for his stand-up so he can script it out, is that he locks himself in a room that has no windows and has nothing but a yellow notepad and a pen. And he tells himself that he has to go in that room and he doesn't have to write, but he can't do anything else. And so what ends up happening is that writing occurs as a default. And so focus kind of works the same way. You eliminate everything else to create focus. You don't try and push harder while also having these disruptions. So there's 3 easy ways that I make my phone less distracting. The first is I switch it to grayscale. And so grayscale decreases consumption across all people by 30%-ish, and that's research backed, which is pretty cool. The second thing is turning off all notifications across all apps on your phone, because you never want your app to be dictating when it's convenient for the app to disrupt you. Like, how ridiculous is that? But we let apps have that permission. Most phones and people want to push notifications to you. I want to pull them when it's convenient for me. The third thing is other people. And so I have a mode on my phone where no one can get through. And when I do that, then I can reach out to them when it's convenient for me. Because if it's actually an emergency, call 911. And if it's not a true emergency, then it can wait. And my team wanted to remind me that I don't email. I heard in, I think it was like 2016, that Bill Clinton didn't use email. And I was like, if he's the president and he doesn't use email, I cannot use email. And so my team doesn't contact me via email. And so if you can eliminate entire channels, that's also an easier way to concentrate fewer flows of communication. And here's the thing, it's always harder, takes longer, and costs more than you think it will. That is a reflection of poor expectations, not that reality is bad. And so it makes sense that it would be harder, take longer, and cost more. Because if it didn't, then everyone would have it. And if everyone had it, then it wouldn't be worthwhile. And so literally the difficulty of the task that you embark on is proportional to the reward that you ultimately get, because you are the asset that you build more than the achievement. And so if it's hard, that's amazing, because it will make you that much harder once you conquer it. And it will also make it harder for anybody else who wants to follow in your footsteps. And so the higher up the mountain you climb, the thinner the air gets, and the rarer the climber or explorer must be in order to get there. And so I don't know about you, but I would so much rather climb a mountain that so few people have been able to climb, so that I can see a view that other people haven't seen.